Okay, good morning. Here we go with this. This is a farmhouse in Concord, Massachusetts that we're going to paint today. Pay attention to the composition of where you put that house, and that's very important. All right, so we'll begin. I'm just going to put some. This is phthalo blue with just a speck of ultramarine in there. I like that. It just makes it a little purer blue. So. Down. Okay, I can get right into this. I like to cover the white, I really like to, we can actually, I just want to show you, we can actually go right into this and, we can, it doesn't matter. This is, what I want to do here is isolate the light. See, that's what we're looking for that. I can continue with that, but what I'm going to do is switch to raw sienna. This is the ground here, the grass and so forth. So I'm just going to place that. Remember, you gotta put enough paint out on your palette. A lot of you are using these, bird droppings, and you're not gonna get the color, the values that you want. You cannot get dark values with old paint. If you have old paint on your palette and you're just wetting it and doing these washes, they're just gonna be, that's what they call wishy-washy washes. They're not gonna work. You have to put some paint on there to get that. The color is in the pigment, so, So here's the first wash. I'm going to leave this, the raw sienna color. I like that. I'll warm up the front just a hair by putting a touch of rose in there. But it's very weak rose, but it'll warm up the front a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is once that settles, I'm going to put this driveway in. I'm going to put that in with just a tiny drop of rose on my brush. Basically just wiping it away. It's good to have a little color on your brush when you do that. Just using a little bit of rose, and the rose will mix with that raw sienna and give you sort of an earth color, a little earth tone that'll be warm. So, and my brush with the towel to dry it up a little bit. That's nice. It invites the viewer into your painting. Okay. All right. So let's get back into the house now. If you look, you can see how dark that value is against the house, against the sky. Okay, you got to get that dark value in there, and it has a little pinkish tone to it. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we can add that. So we have a little bit of rose and a little bit of raw sienna in there. Put it under the eave. I'm going to come back to the eave in a little while, but right now I'm just going to put that a little more raw sienna in there. Okay, so what you have there is you have light. The light comes down. The light comes down and hits the ground, and then bounces back up, and it gets caught underneath that, underneath the eave of the house. So this is, as I say, it's basically rose with raw sienna. So we'll just put that in there. This is a very dark roof, so we don't have to worry about that. But okay. white, okay? That's very important. You can see how it's beginning to pop already, you know? So it's really what our painting is about here. So now what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of a very light wash of cobalt blue, and that'll gray this down just a slight bit. And this time I'm going to go right over the eave. If it's too green and it bothers you, you know, you can go in and put a little more rose on it, and that will. But I'm happy with this. This is going to be nice. Just let that come down. I'm going to leave that and let that essentially, that'll dry up with a beautiful glow on it. Okay, you can see it already. All right, I'll pick this up. All right, so while that's setting up, pop the chimneys in there. It's cadmium red, just a little touch of cobalt blue in there. It's almost a perfect brick color. So that's the dark side of the chimneys. When that sets up, I'll go back in with a little hot pink and just hit that right side. That color, you know, that's a white house, yet with that dark value on there, it still works. It reads beautifully as a white house. So while that's drying up, I'm going to pop in these trees. The trees are very dark, so we're going to go with an ultramarine, and I think I'll go into the quin gold. So those will be my dark trees, and as you can see, it's very dark. But I'm going to add some Aurelian yellow to that when I get to the top where there's more light hitting it. And it's always good to leave some sky holes, you know, here and there. That's why I use this old brush. You know, this was probably $100 brush. It's red sable, but it's worn out, and I saved them to just purposely do these trees, you know, to do this scumbling sort of thing. But leave, you know, it's better to leave more sky holes than less, because you can always go back, obviously, and put them in. All right. So now I'm going to add some Aurelian yellow to that. So this is a little yellow, and this is, so you can see it's just a little bit lighter, and some raw sienna. I'll put some raw sienna in there and let it mix. I'm not trying to paint that tree, but just give you an idea of the characteristics of it. That's all you're really looking for when you're doing these trees. It's a little bit gesture. See how I'm pulling that black dark color? It's not really black, but it's, you know, and just put it into a shape of a tree, which is fine. All right. So it's nice and dark. It's going to make our house pop, and this is all going to, the roof is going to get much darker. Okay, now we get on this side. All right, so this is our important side here. We get the coat. That's very important, you know. So the house is extending. That this comes in here somewhere. See how much paint I'm using. You know, you can't get those dark colors if you don't have that paint. It almost looks like oil paint here, but it's not, as you know. You need that dark, you know, that dark is going to make this thing sing. Sky holes are so important because they allow the painting to breathe, you know. It's not gonna look good. It's just, it's this big black block, you know. Using the side of my brush quite a bit, so all these trees are going to be have a little bit of that bright color. So you know, it's better than having it all that too black. And you know, photos lie, so you got to be careful of that. We don't want to do the all black, you know, that will make your painting look really too dark. So pieces of light in there, and I can establish this little curve of the earth here. Just put a couple of little bushes here that are lighter to break up that big shape of black, dark color. So I put a few branches in there. All right, and while we're at it, we'll put some this very dark bush here. It's, you know, just sticking out. So this is the dark side, and it's coming up like so, and then I'll go into the light side. Get it into a little hole. It doesn't. All right, now we'll put a shadow on here that'll make this thing sing. That takes care of most of our bushes and so forth, but I might put some against the house or whatever when we get to that. But right now I'm going to finish off the house. This is all pretty dry. This is ultramarine blue and just a little touch of sienna to get it to a very dark color. All right, so I got a flat brush here, and I'm going to make it pretty much the width of a window. All right, so we have these interesting reflecting the sky. And you know, when you have a house with a lot of windows like this, you really want to, you don't want them all to be the same, you know, reflection in the sky. This is a doorway. I'm deliberately doing it this way so it kind of looks like there's a little grass there instead of that flat edge. And there's a stairway here, but I'm not going to worry about that because you really can't see it. All right, so we're pretty much there. Mix up a nice shadow color. There's a little bit of let's put a little warmer. There's a little warmer gray here to put these windows in. So, but you know, these are in the distance. I'm taking the tree color that I have on my palette, and I'm adding more raw sienna to it to lighten it up a little bit. So this shadow comes in here like so, and then I can add a little blue to that, and this is the shadow on the house, which is the shadow of the house, I'm sorry. All right, so we can leave it like this. It's, you know, we could say it's pretty much done. What I think I'd like to do though is just put another suggestion of a shadow, maybe a tree coming in this way, just to, you know, just bite us in. Well, we can add a little more raw sienna into that. You know, a shadow will pick up the color that's underneath it, and they call that charging. So, you know, I'm going to take just raw sienna here, and you can see, once that mixes in and dries, you can see how strong that's going to be. and it's going to look like a you know, the reflective light. It's really going to be reflective light. But... All right, so we're pretty much done here. There's little things you can do. You know, you can always, you know how paintings are. They're never finished. People ask me, you know, when do you know it's done? And my answer to that is when it's sold. You know, when someone takes it away and you can't work on it anymore. Otherwise, you're always looking at it. Another thing I want to show you is that at this point, you know, you can actually do it before you put those trees in. But if you just take some cobalt blue, you know, add a few trees in the background. First, you can add some of these spruce trees. You know, just that adds another layer of trees and dimension and depth in your painting, which is beautiful. A little more authentic is just to take some a dark color. This just ultramarine and mixing into that blue that I just had, but it has to be dark enough and it has to be strong enough. So we have this, you know, these wires coming into the house, which give you some authenticity to it. Dried it off because you want to get, you know, you don't want to smudge it. So they're coming, and it's coming this way too. So just gives it a little bit of authenticity to it. Okay. So I'll call that a painting, and I hope that helped you. Please email me if you have any questions at all. I'm happy to help you. You're all good painters, you know. You all can do this very easily. So take your time with it, and it's just going to get better and better. So thank you so much for joining the class, and I will see you next week. Thank you.